Okay, so here we have more methods of factorization. We have the AC method, and what this means is that it's very similar to the difference of perfect square, but now the x squared, instead of being alone, it is multiplied by a number. Okay, so how do we solve this type of polynomial? How do we factorize it? Well, this for this method, it's easier to follow a series of steps so you don't get confused. The first thing to do is to remember the type of polynomial, the type of quadratic polynomial that we have. We have A, B, and C. Okay, so once you identify this number, then you can be able to start solving or factorizing the polynomial. In this case, the first step is to take A, which is the number of the polynomial, and multiply by C, which is the other number of the polynomial. Okay, the second step is to decompose this multiplication. So let's say the AC gave you a number B, just to say a number, a variable. So now we're gonna decompose this V. Once you decompose this V, then you're gonna find two numbers, right? As we did in the perfect squares, in the difference of perfect square. Then the third step will be to take these two numbers, and they added or subtracted have to be equal to B, this B. Okay, once you have this, you're going to reorganize the polynomial, and the final step, you're going to apply the greatest common factor method. I understand this could be confused, but we're going to practice so you will see that it's easier than you think. Okay, so let's solve the first one that we have here. We have 5x squared minus 17x plus 6. Okay, so first thing to do is to recognize what is A, B, and C. Okay, so for this polynomial, we have A is equal to 5. Remember that A is the number multiplying the x squared. Then B is equal to minus 17, and C is equal to 6. With these three numbers in mind, the next step is to multiply A times C. Okay, so first step is A times C. This is equal to 5 times 6. This is equal to 30. Next step is to decompose 30. Okay, so finding two numbers that multiply will give me 30. Well, we start with the easiest one, which is 30 times 1. Okay, so then we have 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 4 doesn't apply because 30 is not divisible by 4. Then we go to 5, and 5 times 6 give me 30. And we can keep going, right? But let's analyze the numbers that we have so far. Remember that we have to find two numbers that added or subtracted should give me the number of B. In this case, is minus 17. Okay, so 30 plus 1, that will be 31. That is not good. 30 minus 1, that will be 29. That is not good. Then we go to 15 and 2. 15 plus 2, that will be 17. And 17 is the number that we are looking for. Okay, so we already found these two numbers that will be 15 and 2. Okay, so what are the signs? Remember that here we are looking for a negative. Should give me negative 17. Well, is it for a negative number, when we are adding or subtracting, then is either the greatest number has to be negative and it should subtract, or both of them negative and they both add each other. Okay, so in this case, we have minus 15 and minus 2. It is equal to minus 17. And that is the number that we're looking for. Okay, so now that we have these two numbers, we proceed with step 3. This step 3, remember right here, we said that these two numbers have to add and or subtract and be equal to b. We already did that. We already got the minus 15 minus 2 equal to minus 17. The following step is to reorganize the polynomial. Okay, so pay attention to this step. We need to reorganize this polynomial, the original one. How do we do this? Well, we decompose the sum. Okay, so like this. First step. So we have 5x squared. That stays the same. Now we take the greatest absolute value, right, between these two numbers that we found. So between 15 and 2, which one is largest? Is 15, right? So we write minus 15x. Remember that we want to get 17x, so we need the x. Minus 15x minus 2x plus 6, which is the last value of the polynomial. So basically, we just took the 17x, the minus 17x, and separated using these two numbers that we found, the minus 15 and minus 2, because this could still be solved and added to each other and be minus 17x. So we haven't done anything extraordinary to the polynomial here. Once we have this, we separate the polynomial into terms. What do I mean in two terms? Well, we take 5x squared minus 15x plus, right? They cannot be multiplied because it's just a polynomial. Then we have minus 2x plus 6. Once we have these two terms now, we take the greatest common factor, and that will be step 5, the greatest common factor. So we look at it at the first term, and what will be the common greatest factor, or the greatest common factor? That will be 5, because 5 is divisible to 5 and 15 is divisible to 5. X, right? It cannot be x squared because this term only has an x. And remember, it's the common factor. So 5x is the factor here, and is multiplied by x minus 3, right? Because if we take 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times minus 3 is minus 15x. Okay, and we do exactly the same to the other term. We have the plus, and we take what is the common term in here. Well, if we take 2, then 2 is divisible to 2 and 6 is divisible to 2. So instead of writing plus here, let's write minus because the x has a minus sign, and take the common factor, that will be 2. Then between the parentheses, it should be x and then minus 3. And to check this, we do minus 2 times x is minus 2x. Then minus 2 times minus 3 is plus 6. And this way, we reorganize the polynomial and apply the greatest common factor. Now, if you notice here, between these two terms, we have another greatest common factor here, x minus 3 and x minus 3. So we can take the x minus 3 out and multiply by whatever doesn't have a common factor. In this case, is 5x and minus 2. Then we multiply times 5x and minus 2. You see what I did? I took whatever is common here and whatever is common here, put it outside here, and then I went, okay, this number is not common and this number is not common, so I just put it in the other parentheses. And this is how we went from here, the original polynomial, to here, the factorization of this polynomial using the AC method. Okay, did you see that we follow all these steps to get from the original polynomial to the result? Okay, let's solve the other example here to feel more comfortable with this method. It's just a matter of practice. If you practice enough, this is going to be a walk in the park. Okay, first thing to do is to recognize what is A, B, and C. Okay, A is equal to 4, B is equal to 10, C is equal to minus 6. Good. Now, what is a multiplication of A times C? This is the first step. A times C will be 4 times minus 6. That will be equal to minus 24. Okay, so we have minus 24. The next step is to decompose the number. So we start with 24 and 1, then we go to 2 and 12, then we go to 3 and 8, and keep going until we find that these two numbers, when they are added to each other or subtracted to each other, it should give me the value of B. In this case, it will be 10. Okay, so I need a difference or an addition that gives me 10. If we look closely, here we have 12 and 2. And if we subtract 2 from 12, then we end up with 10. And that is the number that we want to get. Okay? So now pay attention here because we are talking about a negative number. Okay? So for a negative number in a multiplication, because here we are multiplying, right? For a negative number in a multiplication, one number has to be negative and the other one has to be positive, right? Because if we have plus times plus is plus, minus times minus is plus, right? So different sign, these two numbers. And the addition or subtraction has to be positive. Remember that we are looking for plus 10. For an addition or subtraction to be positive, the greatest number has to be positive, right? Or both of them have to be positive. In this case, we are subtracting, here it should be minus. Since we are subtracting, the greatest number has to be positive. So we have positive 12 and negative 2. That will give me positive 10. And then if we multiply 12 times negative 2, that will give me minus 24. So check and check. Once we have these two numbers, then we proceed to reorganize the original polynomial here. Okay, how do we do that? Well, we just separate the addition. Okay, so we rewrite the first term of the polynomial, the x squared, the 4x squared, and then the 10x we separate it with plus 12x minus 2x. And now we add the last term of the polynomial. Remember that this is equal to 10, so we haven't altered the polynomial. It stays the same, we just reorganizing. Now we separate the polynomial in two terms. We have the 4x squared plus 12x plus the other one is minus 2x minus 6. Okay, now the next step is to take the greatest common factor. We look at the first term. We have 4x squared plus 12x. What is the common term here? We have that the common term is 4x. Then 4x has to be multiplied times x to get 4x squared, and then has to be multiplied by 3 to get 12x. On the other side, the common greatest factor, let's get the minus as a common factor as well, minus 2, right? So then we have x plus 3. How do we check this? Because it's minus 2 times x is minus 2x, and then minus 2 times 3 is minus 6. So we are good to go in here. Okay, so the next step to go is to get the greatest common factor out of these two terms. And in this case, it will be the x plus 3, x plus 3. That's what you need to look for when you are reorganizing the polynomial, right? You need to get a parenthesis that is common for this term and for this term, so you can get it as the greatest common factor. And we end up with x plus 3 that multiply whatever is not common anymore, right? So in this case is 4x minus 2, which this could also have another common factor. So we have x plus 3, and the common factor of the other parenthesis is 2, then times 2, and then times x minus 1, right? So let's write this in a more organized way. We can have 2 that multiplies to x plus 3 that multiplies to x minus 1. And this is the final answer. This will be the factorization of this polynomial. So we went from here to here. Did you see that we took this entire number, a quadratic formula, and have now three different terms that that by multiplying each other we get the original polynomial. And this is how we factorize polynomial using the AC method.